Let's take a look at the culture of corrections. The correctional officer subculture has not been described as extensively as the police subculture, but some elements are similar. First, the inmate may be considered the enemy, along with supervisors and society in general. Moreover, the acceptance and the use of force, the preference towards redefining job roles to meet only minimum requirements, and the willingness to use deceit to cover up wrongdoing seem to have support in both subcultures. In an excellent studies of the officer's world, researchers noted the following norms of the correctional officer subculture. First, always go to the aid of another officer. Like law enforcement, the necessity of interdependence ensures that this is a strong and pervasive norm in the correctional officer subculture. Don't lug drugs. This prohibition is to ensure the safety of officers, and there's an even stronger prohibition against bringing weapons in for inmates. The following norm against ratting on fellow officers may exclude informing on an officer who's a known offender of this lugging norm. Don't rat. In ways like in law enforcement subcultures, and ironically the inmate code, correctional officers also hate those who inform their peers. Never make a fellow officer look bad in front of inmates. This applies regardless of what the officer did, for it jeopardizes the officer's effectiveness and undercuts the appearance of officer solidarity. Always support an officer in a dispute with an inmate. Similar to the previous provision, this prescribes behavior. Not only should one not criticize a fellow officer, but one should support him or her against any inmate. Always support officer sanctions against inmates. This is a specific version of the previous provision, which includes the use of illegal physical force as well as legal sanctions. Don't be a white hat. This prohibition is directed at any behavior, attitude, or expressed opinion that could be interpreted as sympathetic towards inmates. Maintain officer solidarity against all outside groups. This norm reinforces officer solidarity by making any other group, including the media, administration, or the public, the outgroup. Show positive concern for fellow officers. If a correctional officer violates the subculture code, the sanctions are felt perhaps even more acutely than by police officers, because one must work closely with other correctional officers all day long. Distrust of outsiders, dissatisfaction, and alienation are elements of both the police subculture and the correctional officer subculture. It should also be pointed out that some researchers believe that some of the values embedded in the correctional officer subculture may not be shared by most officers, a concept referred to as pluralistic ignorance. This refers to the idea that a few outspoken and visible members do not reflect the silent majority's views.